Thank you very much. So it was the last presentation of the workshop. So now we have a bit of time to discuss some conclusions, if we have any conclusions from the workshop. As suggested originally, we don't suggest as organizers to have some initiatives and some proposals for next steps, what to do together, etc. Because and I think it's quite clear from our presentations that there is a lot of activities and initiatives at the country levels. So we don't think that it's appropriate now to just increase the number and to spend our capacities to try to achieve something new, because there is something that we should build on more than to create something new. But this is our view as organizers, but you can have a different one. Bernard.
I must say that I was very impressed by the various presentations, by the great number of initiatives, and I found it extremely helpful to have this overview over this regional situation. I really find it interesting if that could be repeated in some time to see the progress in future. So if such a forum could come together again, I would really appreciate it.
So once per 3 years, for example,
yeah,
because then
like
you can see some
progress. I found it really helpful to see what is going on and what is.
Okay, I will take it as a message for the Europark Federation and for the WCPA, for the Commission. I think we are able to organize it. Any other comments? Yeah, Andre?
Well, just my overall feeling. So I think that we can say that the different approaches in different countries are not so different as we could estimate at the beginning. But I think that there are two topics that are really controversial, and this is hunting and invasive species. And what is common for both that these are effects or impacts coming from outside as a result of the fact that our wilderness areas are islands and our borders are very porous. It's the reality. But I think that there is a basic difference between these two factors or problems. My feeling is that in case of hunting, the problem is more, let's say, question of the fact to be principle of the PR of the wilderness area more than a real biological problem. Because, as we know, even in some national parks that are declaring there is no hunting in the national park area, they are actually hunting outside of the national park area in winter. So I think it's not the fact that the population are not influenced, they are influenced, but not inside the national park. So I think this more question of how we present the wilderness, that we are really not disturbing the national park area or the wilderness area by this activity than the really biological question. But in case of the invasive species, I feel this as a real biological problem. So, and my feeling is that perhaps compared to other continents that have a longer experience and mostly very bad experience with invasive species such as the United States, for instance, that we Europeans tend to underestimate this problem. That could be also a problem in wilderness areas. I wrote a very nice book, perhaps you will know it. Probably some years ago, it's plant invasions in protected areas. So if you would like to have a look.
Thank you, Andre, for your review. I think you are talking about problems that we solve as professionals, but maybe there are more questions about wilderness when we are talking about how to connect wilderness to society.
Yeah.
For example, if word wilderness is the right one, because of course we can ask people what they think about wilderness, but if it is unclear even for us, what does it mean? And I think this is quite clear from presentations. Then we can make more problems than to help it. And I think it was quite clear that in majority of states, for politicians, it's something like a sensitive word. and we should be also at this level with this topic. Because of course we, at the level of national parks, there is no problem because we know what to achieve. We are able to be flexible in our approaches, following commissions, all commissions in our areas. But talking about wilderness, for example, at the country, we can see what happens in Poland, what happens in Czech Republic when we are talking about some amendment of the law, etc. So maybe it would be better to think about it from the beginning, not to trying just to solve some final technical details like what to do with invasive species and what to do with hunting. Because I think now that the whole concept is still quite fragile. We are talking about, of course, certification systems, etc., but it's just for us as a professional group of people. This is my view, just my contribution to the discussion. Love it.
I agree. We have to find how to sell this concept in a friendly way to the society, to the public. Luckily, we are smart enough that we have this kind of round table, and I very much support what you asked as a proposal to continue on this. And we can discuss this kind of professional stuff, invasive species versus action or not action, etc. But the message going to public should be unified, simple. We should avoid to sell the messages that we have an internal conflict between yes or no, hunting versus control management of the herd, etc., because we lost the credibility. My experience from Slovakia is 15 years ago, wilderness was very much for public dirty word. They didn't understand what is it. It was wilderness means something which is dangerous. Now, even journalists pick up that word. Maybe they don't understand the content, what is behind, but it starts to be so frequently used, and it's spreading and more spreading and more spreading. Important is phase number 2 of education, content.
Max?
I mean, let's remind ourselves, wilderness is an open-ended, undefined process. And when I joined the European Wilderness Society, I obviously was new to the process, and I asked questions. A lot of questions. And there's two things that I don't remember from that period of time. A, that process that started in 2009 and ended in 2014 was not a process by two people. There were 230 individuals from NGOs, GOs, I don't know, Europark, WWF, Eurosite. Everybody was part of that process. Erika Sandesiu was one of the leaders in that process. So what was presented and defined is not Vlado's idea of what wilderness is, or mine. We may even define it differently. But it was a compromise over 5 years of tough negotiations, and that is something that we need to respect. Now, that does not mean, because it is undefined and open-ended, that this whole process over time changes. And we already recognize that, hey, you guys were talking about forests. The last presentation was 70 steps. Wilderness is not equal to forest. It is habitat independent. So those criteria were at that time developed with the forest and maybe mountain regions. And you heard Mr. Weekend talk about, well, what about the Bodensee? What about the coast? What about the rivers? Now all of these things come up. So I see that even those, not as much a definition, but the criteria will continue to develop and develop and develop as we gain more experience. I don't think anybody 10 years ago would have thought that we will accept bark beetle in the cold zone. Suddenly we do. So who knows that 10 years from now, we will be talking about alien species. Everybody will laugh at us and says, hey, so what? Or maybe it has become such a big problem that we don't have any trees left. Who knows where this thing is going? And we must be flexible, but I think what Vlado was important to say, and it's sorry that Pan Park ran into the financial difficulties it had. Panhard enjoyed the support from many, many organizations. Now, for you, it was the first time that you get to know these funny worn shirts. Now, with Bernhard, we've been talking the last 2 years, and I would like to appeal to everybody that we really pull us together and sing that common song, that unified song. Because otherwise, our enemies will poke holes in it. And Panhard had that support. There was a year and a half of incommunication, legally, had to be. But now we see that we're continuing with additional Panhards. And I'm really grateful if you would like to support us. And we support you wherever we can. If we hear something from your areas that you would like to shout out there, we are privately funded NGO, so we can do a lot of things other NGOs cannot do. So that is just an appeal that I have at the end. Let's work together. Let's hit live.
Thank you very much for this offer. I think this is the only way how to be successful. Definitely. I think it's quite clear for me from presentations that we can appear something like a common background, definition that we should use and build on it. But on the other hand, conditions in the EU countries are so different, talking about legislation, about political influence, about structure of nature conservation, etc., that we need really, it was said by Vlado and by you, we really need to be flexible. We really need to allow all our partners in these countries to have enough space to modify the approach following their conditions. And maybe that's something that causes troubles when we are communicating about the same thing and we understand it in different ways. But I hope that results from this workshop help us to understand what is going on in these countries, in 7 countries that participated in the workshop. Do you have any other comment? If not, just the last word from organizers. We decided with my colleagues that I think there is no another reason to be hidden, so we will post your presentations in the PDF format in 1 month together with your voices matched with slides to the Europark website. We will also post some information about this workshop to our Facebook profile, etc. Please do the same. Just present it as an internal workshop with the goal just to present or to discuss wilderness and its state and state of its protection in our states. Nothing more. It's not a new initiative. Then it will be okay. And of course, I think this is quite a strong message to repeat this activity, this workshop, once per few years. So we will work on it, and then maybe we will, in a few years, we will contact you asking for your participation again. And I hope that this workshop helped you also to connect yourself with other colleagues from other states, because I know that significant part of you already met somewhere and you are friends, but for some of you, maybe it was a chance to meet new people and to get new information and to establish new relations. So hopefully it helped in more levels. Thank you very much from our side, and there is some refreshment for you before you leave the venue, and have a good trip back to your homes.